All right, all right, all right. Hey, y'all. What's up, everybody? Come on in. Get nice and cozy and comfortable. We're here in the Rooted in Progress Stream Center.
Yes,
What's up, Terrence? How you feeling today?
A lot better than I was Tuesday. I can tell you that.
Okay.
So,
I mean, a lot happens when you're in news.
Yes.
You know, election day it's a tough day.
Yeah.
But to bring some lightheartedness to that, usually election day is filled with pizza. But I heard y'all had
we had a
Latin food. Y'all had a whole spread. Y'all had steak.
We had a spread. And the tough part about it was that, you know, you get your belly full, then you got to work 4 or 5 hours later. So everyone got pretty sleepy around here. But there was enough action going on to keep us all awake.
For sure.
So it was a long, stressful day. Just elections, period.
Yeah.
You know, here in the news department or news media, it's a long day for us all.
Yeah, but everyone did an incredible job. Hey,
Absolutely.
y'all. Thanks for joining us on Rooted in Progress today. If you haven't done so already, make sure y'all follow, like, and subscribe to YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. You know, we're live every Thursday at 11 a.m. This week, episode 20, we have a good one for you today because we have to unpack everything that happened with this election. Whether you feel some type of way, whether you're excited, it does not matter. At the end of the day, this is what we have to deal with, right? And so what we know now, our next President-elect Donald Trump, he will be entering office next year. And it's one of those things where we look at what happened with the election. You get all of the exit polls, you get all of the data, you look at how many people turned out, you look at the popular vote and what happened with that and where things went left. Because prior to election, everything is up in the air, right? It's all these polls that indicate what could happen. And so it's great to then digest and go down every single thing that actually happened at the polls, right?
And it can, leading up to the election day, it's like an overload.
Yeah.
So you got analysts that are making their predictions, and you're looking at numbers that are projected numbers that are coming in. So it's almost an overload come Tuesday on election day. So it's a lot, guys. And then on top of that, you wake up the next morning and there's the results, and there's a lot that can be unpacked from that. So as you see across other news outlets, as well as the one here on WFLA, is that's pretty much the headline news as to what took place on election night.
Yeah, and what better person to do it? We've got a chance to chat with him a little bit. He has ties to the Tampa area, actually went to school in my hometown. He went to FSU, Florida State, Go Noles. My mom went to FSU too. We got Dr. Vincent Adejumo. I said it right?
Yes.
Let's go. From the University of Florida, African American Studies professor, political analyst. Did I forget anything?
I think you nailed it.
Nice.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Vincent. How are you feeling? Just checking in mentally, emotionally with you.
Well, I mean, I'm feeling great. I mean, no matter what, because I was reading the tea leaves of the election. I mean, maybe 3 weeks ago, where I really got into the data, and I pretty much kind of came to the conclusion that this was going to be the result. Now, I was surprised. I thought, and even if you go on my social media, I thought maybe that it was going to come down to the last minute to Pennsylvania, last minute votes. Maybe we wouldn't know until Friday who officially won. But I didn't expect the race to be called the same night. I didn't expect that. And but there's a number of factors for that, which I'm sure we can get into. But that's just my general thoughts.
Yeah. And so for those folks listening in right now, or wherever you might be tuning into, of course, we're talking about the presidential election right now. Kamala Harris, Vice President Kamala Harris versus now President-elect Donald Trump. We actually have some sound. We're going to hear from Kamala Harris. She actually did her concession speech. And then we're also going to hear from President-elect Trump.
On the campaign, I would often say, when we fight, we win. But here's the thing. Sometimes the fight takes a while. That doesn't mean we won't win. The important thing is don't ever give up.
Every single day I will be fighting for you, and with every breath in my body, I will not rest until we have delivered the strong, safe, and prosperous America that our children deserve and that you deserve.
I think it's safe to say, y'all, we had two drastically different candidates running for president this year. But Dr. Vincent, what do you think? We saw that the people, our country, not only did Trump win the electoral vote, he won the popular vote. What do you think that says about our country? What overall are we looking for as these United States of America?
Well, I think as far as what it says about the country itself, I think this was a economy election. And so as the saying was said in previous elections, it's the economy, stupid. So I think that people voted with their bellies, and I think specifically with the Democrats, I don't think they really gave a lot of attention as far as, especially on the ground level, as far as the economic tenor, And so I think that was the main thing, that the majority of the country voted with their bellies. Obviously, President Trump was president before, but he wasn't president these last 4 years. So the question of, are you better off 4 years ago? That really resonated with apparently the majority of the country.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, because you brought up a really good point. It's the fact that the NBC, one of their exit polls showed 46% of voters say their families are their financial situation is worse now than it was 4 years ago. That is the largest number they've ever seen when it comes to that kind of statistic. And I think that alludes to and that speaks to exactly what you're talking about, right?
Right, exactly. And, obviously there were other things on the ballot, or, representative on the ballot, obviously women's rights, as far as their reproductive health, but in the end, people chose the economy. And so that's the issue that we're here with right now. Now, obviously, Black voters still voted overwhelmingly for Kamala Harris, but other demographics that you thought maybe would also vote with Kamala Harris, maybe white women, maybe because of the reproductive rights issue, maybe Latinos because of the what had transpired recently with the comedian at the Madison Square Garden, also Trump's rhetoric regarding immigration. Many Democratic operatives thought that, they were in the lead as far as those groups. But what I think is that they did not pay really close attention. So, for example, with the Latino community, there's many different people within the Latino community, many different diasporas within the Latino community. I mean, you have Cubans, you have Mexicans, you have those Latinos in the Northeast region, so it's not a one size fits all with the Latino community. And so I think that was a mistake to assume, to kind of ride that messaging wave that the Kamala Harris team did as far as trying to message to them. Again, it comes down to the economy. Everybody's hurting, or at least felt that they were hurting, and so that's where it came down to.
Yeah, you bring up race.
Yeah.
And there's so much to unpack. Now let me tell you something about me, Dr. Vincent.
Here we go.
I'm very real. I'm very honest. I monitor our comments during our Rooted in Progress live stream. Somebody already asked, is it a joke? No, but hiding under a fake page is a joke. So feel free to comment with your real page. But what I do here is let folks know what this platform is, right? And so with our platform, of course, we love everyone, right? But we have to get down to the nitty gritty. We have to put a focus and a highlight on minority communities, and especially the Black community, because race played such a pivotal role in this election, right? And so when you look at Rooted in Progress, that's what we're here for. What happens next for our minority communities when we look at President-elect Trump? What's next for us?
I mean, this is my field. Now, I have a book coming out called The Return of Black Nationalism and the Death of White Supremacy. That book will be coming out in May of 2025. It's already available for pre-order on Amazon. And so one of the things I argue in the book is that we as African Americans, we have to really start thinking about reparations. That to me is the thing to fight for, because everything else, I mean, whether you want to talk about, the different normal political things that's in the atmosphere, inflation, whether you want to talk about any of those things that's always comes up in the news cycle, those things are cyclical, right? Housing. But for me, reparations is the seminal issue, especially when you think about, like, for example, I was just at a memorial dedication for the Ocoee massacre, the descendants for the Ocoee massacre. And so they unveiled a plaque, which is great, a memorial plaque. And but the mayor of Ocoee kind of intimated that, well, hopefully this will provide some reprieve for the descendants and whatnot. And in my head, I'm thinking the only thing that's really going to provide reprieve is reparations. Just as much as the descendants of the Rosewood massacre, they received $1.5 million to repair reparations. I believe that's the next thing that African Americans should be. And you have certain groups that have been laying the groundwork for that. You have, astute scholars and intellectuals, Ta-Nehisi Coates and William Darity, the great Professor William Darity. So you have those people, different types of forms of reparations. But overall, I think that's where the conversation, so aside from that, that's the overall thing. And then I think, as far as on a local level, a more practical level, what we need to be thinking about, and which is why I'm glad you invited me, we really need to be thinking about group economics. How can we, get together and put together economic collectives to really affect what's in our own vicinity? I mean, you look at what's going on in Tampa. I'm from Tampa. I grew up in Tampa. In the 80s and 90s. So I've seen the change, the gentrification, the block busting, all that type of thing that's been going on. I went to Middleton High School.
Come on, Middleton.
Yep. I graduated from Middleton High School in 2004. So I'm from the area. I'm from, Hillsborough Avenue, Dr. Martin Luther King, all those different areas. And I've seen the quote unquote progress, but then it's like, well, where does that leave us? And so I believe that we need to form more collectives as far as economically and be able to buy property, buy the land, all this land that's being developed in Tampa. My people get calls every day for them to sell their house. And I'm like, no, don't sell that property. So we need to focus on things like that as far as in the immediate, that's going to really help our economic uplift, because as you can see, you can't really rely on government to do that for you. You just can't. You just can't do it. It's been proven time and time again. So for me, that's the best way as far as on a practical level. You have a long-term goal to work towards as far as reparations. And then in the short term and the immediate, we get together, we form collectives, we buy businesses, we own businesses, we hire each other, and we build each other up.
Wow,
that's good. Good stuff.
That's real.
Doctor, I'm gonna backtrack. I'm gonna take it back to the presidential election. So, what key factors do you think that led to perhaps the defeat of Kamala and the victory of President Donald Trump? What's some of the key factors in your opinion?
Well, I think the main key factor was that she didn't run in the primaries.
Right.
You know, she didn't really have a chance to build her ground game. And she was kind of, to me, I mean, I think Joe Biden should have announced that he was dropping out 2 years ago. Clearly, he was not in the state that you need to be in order to run for reelection. So I think that he should have dropped out 2 years ago, and that would have given Kamala a chance to really prove herself to the people as far as on the ground game. You know, so I think that's number one. She didn't have a chance to really present herself to the electorate, and then two, you know, her theme of "we're not going back." To me, it was a very confusing slogan, because at the end of the day, people only remember what's in front of them, right? So if we're not going back, but at the end of the day, you were in the administration as far back as 3 years ago up until that point, you know. So I get the general gist of we're not going back as far as not going back to the Trump era. But then when you say that, many people say, well, I like the Trump era, you know, as far as for my economic well-being. Maybe you didn't like it as far as the, you know, as far as the mudslinging and the out and out racism and that type of thing. But again, this is an economy election. Yeah. So the thing of saying I'm not going back, to me, that was very, very confusing. I also think that, you know, to me, it was just too much celebrity endorsement.
Too many concerts. Go ahead and say it. Too much twerking on the stage. Go ahead and put it out there.
I mean, it was, to me, it was kind of gimmicky, you know, and I get it, because that's the normal, you know, anytime the Democrats run somebody that is young, you know, that's what they tend to do. But like, for example, when I think back to the Obama election or when he was campaigning, he didn't really have a lot of celebrities like that as far as that was, you know. So I think but again, I think that was just a function of trying to make up ground for not having a primary and really being elected
in a front
by the people. And so a lot of people look at that and was like, you know, okay, they just, which is technically, yes, the DNC can do what they want to do as far as in that regard. But, you know, for the grassroots, it doesn't really play as far as favorably when you're talking about trying to actually win an election.
You bring that up, and this is something that has been sitting on my spirit, because when you look at all these concerts, you look at Glorilla performing, you look at Meg Thee Stallion performing, and all these things, and the thing that was in the back of my head was, well, maybe she's trying to appeal to younger voters because they're the ones who are running the game right now, right? But then you look at the data, and the data, all the young voters shifted to Trump. Well, so is this a message of this does not work?
Well, and that's the thing, too. I mean, you got to go back and look at celebrities have been endorsing candidates from, you know, far back as we can remember. I mean, you remember the P. Diddy campaign, Vote or Die. Remember that? That was what, several years back. And so, you know, celebrities have been endorsing. And, you know, when it comes down to what you just said, Deanne, was the fact that trying to attract the younger voters, you'd have to do what you have to do to get those young people out and vote. Is that the proper method? Maybe, maybe not. But let's just call a spade here. All right. This is a podcast. This is a safe place.
Yeah.
I don't think this country's not ready for a female president.
Ooh.
And they're definitely not ready for a black female president.
Mike.
Now, we could say that, she didn't enter the primary. She wasn't a part of this. You know, like you said, Biden should have dropped out 2 years ago and so on and so forth. I believe that even if she was in the primary, part of the primary, I believe that Biden would have now announced his that he's stepping down 2 years ago. We would still have the same results.
And that's because you think the country itself is not ready for a black woman to be president.
I'd say a female, period.
Well, here's what I would say to that. I would say that I agree with you, but what I will also say is that at the end of the day, if you give her a chance to go through the primary and she wins the primary, then it's more of a okay, it's more of a okay. Now you built the ground game, you have all of the different apparatuses in place, and then I think another thing too, I think, and this is going to sound kind of crazy, but just follow me for a second.
Okay.
I think them bringing back President Obama signaled to a lot of people that they were panicking. And especially when he kind of was lecturing, he was lecturing Black men, hey, the brothers, misogyny and all this and all that. And that may be true for some brothers. But at the same time, to me, he didn't really have the same energy for white women and or Latinos when the polling data said the 53% of white women that voted for Hillary Clinton in 2016. They're going to do the same for Trump, and lo and behold, you look at the numbers. He won 53% of white women. The data said that Latino men are going to vote for Trump this time around just as much as they did in 2020, and in fact, he overperformed with them this time as well. So, and so then you ask, so that's why I've said that I believe if she at least had the primary, won the primary, made a chance to make some inroads with those particular groups. I think it would have been a much better chance. All I can do is go by what could have put her in the best position possible. Because at the end of the day, she still won 223 electoral college votes. You need 270 to win. Yeah. So I can't sit here and say, well, she never had a chance because she's a woman and her race, because she won 223. Now she got blown out, only got 150 or, it's like, okay, So I'm just saying, as far as for her, the best position to win, I just think all of those factors compounded each other. And then at the same time, she's an incumbent and it's the economy. It just was an uphill battle from the jump without winning the primary.
I wonder if President Biden's going to address any of that. A part of me feels like no. He's actually, I just got an alert. He's speaking right now. So it'll be interesting to hear what comes out of that. Because I think you mentioned the Latino vote, right? It jumped significantly. So we're looking at Trump. The Latinos voted for Trump in 2020. It was 32% of Hispanic and Latino voters that voted for Trump in 2020. Harris in 2020, it was Harris and Biden, of course, it was 65%. This year in 2024 for Trump, it went from 32 to 45. We saw a 13% increase in Latino voters voting for Trump, whereas Harris, it went from 65% to 53%. We saw a 12% decrease. And so, Dr. Vincent, are you saying that you think that has to do with her not being able to mobilize enough throughout the various Hispanic communities across the country and really deliver a direct message to them?
Oh, yes, definitely. Not only that, but like I said, it's an economy election. I mean, obviously, racism does play a factor as well, especially if you look at the margins in South Florida. Again, this is not to say all Cubans are racist, but you definitely have a contingent that are not, favorable towards Black people. And that's just, society. I mean, I grew up in Ybor City, so I understand. So again, racism, there's one part, but then as far as just strictly as far as just a kitchen politic perspective, like I said, I didn't really see much as far as her really building a ground game as far as with that community, and meeting them where they are at. Again, with presidential politics, it can't just be a situation where the celebrity is telling you have to vote for this person because they're racist. That's just not a winning strategy. That's not a winning a recipe for winning. Even when Obama won twice in 2008 and 2012, that was not his message. And in fact, he received a lot of critique from from especially Black leaders who wanted him to be a little bit more, especially in his last term, to be a little bit more like, hey, he's for the people. He's going to do specific, tangible things for the African American community. Why not? Because this is your last, election term. So unfortunately, back to my greater point, I don't believe Kamala really built the ground game to make inroads, especially with Latino men. It was just so much about Black men, Black men, Black men, Black men, and she received the same amount of percentage of Black men vote that they did in 2020. So, so Black men were there, relatively speaking. Mm-hmm. So again, I just don't think she made enough inroads with the Latino community, and especially Latino men.
Okay, so we got to be real here, right? Mm-hmm. I feel like the conversation around the Latino community, and here's the deal: if you're listening right now and you want to chime in, feel free. Don't be rude to me. I feel like a lot of the conversation here, and this isn't a dig to the Latino community, love the Latino community, do stories with the Latino community and for the culture all the time. The confusion here is when you look at, and I have President-elect Trump's agenda, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you look at his number 2 priorities, his top 2 priorities, which is seal the border and stop the migrant invasion and mm-hmm. carry out the largest deportation operation in American history. Mm-hmm. And you look at that, the community that is targeting, that is the mm-hmm. Hispanic and Latino community in large part. So make it make sense.
I will say this. I will say not in large part, because most of the Latino community in America are legal immigrants.
Correct.
So legal immigrants that vote, they pay taxes. And then you specifically, for example, you may look at specific groups. So like I said before, the Cuban community in the South Florida area or in the Tampa area, right? Mm-hmm. Those people, they are business owners, right? Mm-hmm. They, they care deeply about family issues, so all of the cultural, messaging, even when we're talking about women's reproductive rights, a lot of that, those people in that community, they don't agree with Democrats as far as their agenda on that. So that's another issue, not just the economy. Mm-hmm. And then when you say about Trump saying he's going to deport illegal immigrants, in their head, that doesn't pertain to them because they're not here illegally.
But does it pertain to their cousins? Does it pertain to their parents? Does it pertain to their friends? Does it pertain to and I guess the rationale behind that, right, is the fact that I feel like in the Black community, this is getting real now. Right. In the Black community, it's like we all supposed to stick together. Like if you down and I don't even know you, like, you know how like Black folks, we got that whole thing where if I see you, you speak. I don't got to know you. I don't even got to speak to you ever again in my life. But if I'm passing by you in Publix, I'm going to speak because that's just what you do in the community. So I feel like, I think the perception is, let me say that, the perception may be correct. The Latinos and the Hispanic community voting here in the country, of course, they're citizens, right? But what about cousin who's trying to come over here?
I mean, at the end of the day, yeah, I love you, cousin, but these taxes, you know what I'm saying? Trump talking about these tax breaks, you know what I'm saying? Like, hey, I got this business over here, we pumping out, we getting it, as far as these various businesses where you want to talk about they own grocery stores, they own landscaping businesses. Many of them are very high up in banking, so they have, and this is what I was saying, as far as with African Americans. I'm not expecting African Americans to model what Latinos do, because we have a very different history. We came over here because of slavery. We came here to increase the capitalistic ambitions of our oppressors are, of the colonizers,
Yeah.
right? So versus them, they came over here by choice for a better opportunity for themselves and their family. So again, a lot of them are business minded, they're business owners. And like you said, maybe they have family members that may be here as undocumented, but at the end of the day, what is going to be in the best interest of our family legacy in this country, and it's to make sure that this business that we have and is going strong. And also we care deeply about family. Many of them, they come and they, let's get real. They come, they stay with each other, in the same place for a very long time until they get up on their feet, and then they can move out. Versus African Americans, we are quick to kick out our children at the age of 17 and 18 and not really build up our children to make sure that they have the right tools to dominate in their vicinity. You see, so again, a lot of that is historically, but what I'm saying and what I argue, and especially in my new book that's coming out, is that we really have to think deeply about, even if we're just talking about at a micro level in our own communities, we need to take those back. We need to take it back, and it starts with the economics and the getting together, forming collectives, and going about it that way, and making sure that other people who coming into our communities, that they respect us.
Yeah, that's real. So when we look at what happens next, just overall, and particularly what happens next in minority communities, because when we look at President-elect Trump's agenda, I see sealing the border, mass deportation, ending inflation, dominant energy producer, outsourcing, manufacturing superpower, large tax cuts, defending the Constitution, ending the weaponization of government against American people, rebuilding the cities, including Washington, D.C., making them safe, clean, and beautiful again. I'm going down this list because if you compare it to what was on Vice President Kamala Harris's agenda, there were specific items targeting minorities and minority communities. So in essence, do you think minority communities are okay with the future of President-elect Donald Trump?
I mean, time will tell. Time will tell. But I will say, as far as a campaign strategy, a critique of that I've been hearing the past day or two from a lot of people was that really, for example, if you look at her Latino platform for Latinos, it kind of was a copy and paste from what she for her platform for African Americans, particularly African American men. And then many Latinos, especially Latino men, really didn't know she had a platform for them. So again, that goes to my greater point of the messaging. So as far as to your question, as far as what we will see in the future for our minority communities, especially Black communities, what I urge is, it's only $88. Go and register yourself as a LLC on somebiz.org. Let's start there. Let's start there. Let's start creating these Black-owned businesses. Start to educate yourself on employee identification number. Start to educate yourself on what is an S corp. How you can employ yourself. Under an S corp organization of a LLC. Educate yourself on how you can, especially if you're in construction or if you're in the medical field, how you can be a part of government contracts, that type of thing. So again, there's nothing wrong with a job. A job is great. I have a job. Nothing wrong with being a W-2, but set yourself up for the future as far as how you can be a benefit independently to yourself and to your community. So that would be my message to the African American community at large, because unfortunately or fortunately, however you want to read it, you can't really rely on government. Obviously we're tax-paying citizens just like everyone else, but because of the history of racism in this country, history of sexism, we can't rely on government for our benefit. We have to make the inroads ourselves and do as much as we can ourselves for our benefit.
That's real. In essence, do you think businesses or business owners will somehow benefit a little bit more with the government structure that we're getting ready to have? Like
Yes,
if you are your own business owner?
Yeah, I do believe that independent business owners, small business owners, I do believe there's going to, because as you said, what's the first thing Trump is talking about aside from deportation? He's talking about tax cuts. Who is he talking about tax cuts for? He's not talking about tax cuts for the middle class. He's talking about tax cuts, obviously, for the wealthy, but also for business owners, small business owners. That is what he's talking about. So you want to get ahead, ahead of that and say, okay, what am I interested in? I would to even go further, I would encourage people to look into franchising. Set yourself up with that. Look into, we're getting ready to, the housing is going to, obviously in the Tampa area, housing is booming, right?
Right.
But there's going to be a dip, and you want to set yourself up for the dip when that happens, and be able to acquire some property and set yourself up. So again, there are things we can do. It shouldn't be doom and gloom. The election is what it is. Now, how do we move forward? And for me, this is how we move forward.
Yeah, I'm seeing one question I want to get to before we wrap things up, Dr. Vincent. So bigger picture here, what are your thoughts on how we can partner and work with the incoming administration? Realistically attainable goals.
Okay, great. So the NAACP just announced that they were going to, obviously they spent $20 million last I looked to basically lobby against his election. He won. And so now they said that they were going to work with the administration. Obviously, it's still in its infancy. The transition team and that type of thing. But I think that what you have to do is use the institutions that you have available. I mentioned the Small Business Administration. They have these SBA 7A loans, the 504 loans, that type of thing. So that's one way that you can set yourself up. Another thing, like I mentioned also, is to get with your local county, educate yourself as far as your local city and county, register your business as a minority and woman-owned business. Plenty of contracts available for minority women-owned businesses. In fact, minority and women-owned businesses receive extra, they call it, it's like a point system as far as consideration to receive contracts from the government. So again, as far as directly with Trump, obviously we have to wait until his official policies materialize as far as his platform in the next coming months. But again, what I say as far as what you can do today, the institutions that are available today, the SBA, specifically Small Business Administration, if you're a veteran, they have some things that you can be privy to as far as buying property. So these are the type of things I believe that you can do to partner with and to grow to grow your wealth, which is the huge issue, the wealth gap between African Americans and white.
Yeah. That's a whole nother conversation for sure.
Please, I would love to be privy to that.
Listen. That's a whole nother conversation. Dr. Vincent, you've been phenomenal breaking down these exit poll numbers, taking a look at the role race played in general in this election, why we saw shifts, what could have been done differently. And like you said, and I think you said this very well, and I think a lot of people right now, I've heard feedback from both sides. And either some people are tired, some people feel defeated, some people are encouraged, some people are excited. And no matter how you feel, this is what it is, right? And so at this point, yes, feel how you feel, get through it. Come on, mental health. This is so important. But at the end of the day, like you mentioned, all of these things that we could be doing to put ourselves in better positions to make sure we are well equipped no matter who sits in that Oval Office will always be the best way that we could be strapped and be ready for anything that happens in our country. So I love that input and that feedback that you gave. Dr. Vincent, thank you for hanging with us on Rooted in Progress. We got to have you back.
Hey, anytime. Hey, even if you get me live in studio, I'm ready.
Oh, you gonna come? So how often do you come home?
I come home a good amount. Parents, they still need me, and I come home. So let me know, and I'll be on the next jet over there. So
jet. What a life. What a beautiful life, Dr. Vincent. Not the jet. No, thank you for hanging with us. Please let us know when you're in town. We love the hometown folks. Thank you all for hanging with us all day. All of the comments, whether you hate comments or not, I still love you. You still was watching. You still Rooted in Progress. So we had you for something. I think, again, I want to leave y'all with these thoughts of this country is such a beautiful country. We've gone through so many things. And when I look at myself in the mirror, I am a Black woman, and I know what my mom, my grandmother, my great-grandmother, my great-great-grandmother, my grandfathers, what my ancestors had to go through for me to even be able to have a platform like this and in this arena. And so I wear that proudly. I walk in that proudly. And I really hope this platform is not only a safe space where you can come and feel like we are addressing issues that affect you, because oftentimes minorities, Black people, Latinos, we're overlooked, and our issues don't matter often. And so they matter here. And we just want to make sure that you all feel that. So Rooted in Progress, we are here every Thursday live at 11 a.m. on the WFLA Facebook page and on the WFLA app. Make sure y'all go ahead and follow us, like, and subscribe. This will be uploaded to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. You will get the alerts. If you download the WFLA app, you'll get the alerts when we are live every week. Hey, we love you. And as we always say, stay rooted.